Hello students, welcome to my live teaching learning session of BPAG 174 Sustainable Development. Today we will discuss about Block 1, Unit 3 and 4. Both units will be covered under this block. In Unit 3, the main important topic is approaches to sustainable development. And Unit 4 includes the goals of sustainable development. So in today's session, we will do both the units. One is approaches to sustainable development, which is covered in Unit 3, and sustainable development goals are covered in Unit 4. So in the beginning, we will start the objectives of this unit. What is the objective of this sustainable development approaches? Introduction. These are different approaches like status quo approach, community capacity building approach, industrial sector approach, integrated system approach, human development approach, green account approach. And last is conclusion of this block or Unit 3 and 4. As you know that sustainable development play a very important role in present world, and sustainable development refers to the process of development in which we use all the available resources, or we should use all the available resources in such a manner so that present generation needs as well as future generation needs both can be satisfied without compromising anyone. So sustainable development is very important topic and it has different approaches. With the help of these approaches, we can understand this concept very broadly. Let us start from the topic introduction. Introduction. As we know that although sustainable development concept was conceived in the 1970s, but it became the central point of development discourse with the World Commission on Environment and Development. In short form, we can say that WCED. W is World, C is Commission on Environment, E refers to environment, and D refers to development. So World Commission on Environment and Development in 1987 or the Brundtland Commission, this word sustainable development originated. And its report on our common future culminating in Sustainable Development Goals in 2015. In 1992, Sustainable Development Goals were defined by the United Nations. But the nations were mostly unsuccessful in moving towards their achievement. The world leaders came together in 2012 and developed the framework to achieve Millennium Development Goals, MDG, Millennium Development Goals. And these goals are 17, which is decided by UN or other nation. Millennium Development Goals, but they could not set on agenda for achieving any sustainable development goals. You know, at present, we are achieving economic development and we are increasing the growth rate of the country, but we are not successful in the achievement of this sustainable development. Because sustainable development is that development in which we have to protect our environment. We have to optimally use all the available resources, either it may be human resources, natural resources, technological resources, physical resources, etc. And we should fulfill the needs of the present generation as well as future generation needs. And we should use all the non-renewable resources economically or efficiently, because we know that there are two types of resources which are given by God. One is renewable, which can be renewed, which can be generated again for the future fulfillment or future generation needs. But other resources are non-renewable, which can't be regenerated, which can't be remake. So we should use carefully all the non-renewable resources in which so many years it takes to, again, if we want to produce these resources, it takes too much time, and no one can survive in this world for too much long years. So we should use non-renewable resources optimally or efficiently. Then we can achieve the sustainable development goals. What are the main objectives of this sustainable development, and why we need, why we want to study this sustainable development? The main objectives behind the study of sustainable development is that everyone should share in the benefits of increased prosperity and a clean and safe environment, improve access to services, tackle social exclusion, and reduce the harm to health caused by poverty, poor housing, unemployment problem, and pollution is the biggest problem at present. At present, air quality is very poor, and oxygen level in the air is very less, as well as population increases, deforestation hampers the environment because land area is limited, but population is increasing day by day, and the whole world population is at present around 8 billion. If we use resources rapidly and we exploit all the resources at a very rapid rate, then what will happen? It will hamper the environmental, and environmental protection will not be exist in future. So our needs must not be met by treating others, including future generation and people elsewhere in the world, unfairly. We should not do any unfair treatment with present and future generation. So future generation and present generation both needs should be satisfied equally and fairly. Then this target will be achieved. So these are the main objectives of sustainable development. And these objectives recognizes the needs of everyone. Everyone and all species or all human beings who are living in this entire world. Everyone should share in the benefit of increased prosperity and a clean and safe environment. Everyone should get good services and improved access to services, and without harming the health of the human beings, and poverty should be reduced, inequalities of income and wealth should be reduced, education level, medical facilities, housing, peace, harmony, social benefits to everyone should be increased. So these are the main objectives of sustainable development. Next is approaches. What are the various approaches of sustainable development? Sustainable development has some different approaches. We can define these approaches in so many ways, like putting people at the center. This is the first approach. Sustainable development must enable people to enjoy a better quality of life now and in the future. This is the actual meaning of sustainable development, in which each and every people should enjoy a better quality of life at present as well as in future also. Second thing is taking a long-term perspective. Radical improvements have to begin now to safeguard the interest of future generations. At the same time, we must meet needs today. It means present needs and future needs both should be satisfied without compromising anyone, without compromising by future generation. Then it, it will be called a long-term perspective. According to this long-term perspective, we can define this sustainable development in this form. And third is taking account on cost and benefits. Decisions must take account of a wide range of cost and benefits, including those which can't easily be valued in money terms. We know that some facts can be quantified, but other facts which are not quantified or not we can define in terms of money, that is actually called real facts. And in other form, we can say that qualitative or qualitative aspects of the economy. So decisions must take account on a wide range of cost and benefits. We should analyze cost and benefit, both the things when we are studying about this sustainable development, and including those which can't be easily valued in terms of money, that should also be included while studying this concept sustainable development. These are the simple three approaches, like putting people at the center, taking a long term perspective, and taking account of cost and benefit. When we explain these sustainable development approaches, then we should consider in mind that these three things must be included in approaches of sustainable development. Next is approaches to sustainable development and approaches to adaptation and transformational change is first is improve access to energy. Next is improve access to and control of local and land tenure, local resources and land tenure. Next is diversify water resources. Next is because sustainable development doesn't include only environmental protection, it also includes so many things like everyone should get uh, improve access of energy, not only non-renewable energy, renewable energy, all the resources should be available for each and every person fairly. So improve access to energy is also included in the approaches of sustainable development. Improve access to and control of local resources and land tenure. Diversify water resources. Improve water regulations and agreements. Improve watershed and reservoir management. coastal afforestation, afforestation and reforestation should be exist instead of deforestation. But at present, people are doing this deforestation activity, and deforestation hampers the environment badly. Reduce stressors on ecosystem and habitat fragmentation. Mangrove conservation and replanting plants more and more trees to secure or save the environment. Install ecological corridors and establish payments for ecosystem services. All these things are included in the approaches to sustainable development. If we should follow all these things, then sustainable development target definitely will be fulfilled. So we should use all the available resources efficiently or economically or optimally. Next is, this is the first main approach of sustainable development. This approach is status quo approach. This approach believes that there is no need for making any fundamental changes, because this approach tells us as it is or as same as. So the supporter of the status quo approach believe that there is no need for making any fundamental changes, as there are no such problems that are impossible to solve. Impossible also tells that I am possible. So this approach feels that there are no such problems at present which have no solution. Each and every problem has solution. So there are no such problems that are impossible to solve. Although changes are required, because economy is dynamic, everything is changing in this world. So changes are required, which can be made by making adjustment. There is no imperative need to change the means of decision making or power relations. It is said by Hapwood, edited uh, book in 2005. This is based on the human tendency of sticking to what they know and their general resistance to change. Another factor that contributes to status quo approach is the lock-in mechanism that our existing system have for stabilization. Selecting from alternatives become difficult because of the inertia generated by the growing benefit through an ongoing activity. So this approach tells us that there is no need for making any fundamental changes, because there are no such problems that are impossible to solve. So we know that although changes are required, some adjustment we should do for taking the advantages of this approach. But this approach tells us that we should follow the rules and regulations same as earlier, or we should not need for taking any change or doing any change in previous policies. But the fundamentals, what are the fundamentals included in this approach? Yeah, what fundamentals of this approach are? So there are some fundamentals which are included in this approach, status quo approach. These are more growth will lead to sustainable development and support the decisions of the government to reduce the progressive nature of taxation. Government should support the decision of sustainable development and reduce the progressive nature. Progressive nature of taxation means as well as income rise, taxation rate rise. Income falls, tax rate falls. So this is called progressive nature of taxation. Taxation nature may be progressive, may be regressive. But regressive nature tells us the increase in tax rate as well as income falls and reduce the tax rate if income rises. Regressive taxation rate is very bad for the economy. So progressive nature of taxation at present is going on, but government should reduce the progressive nature of taxation also for doing more growth and for achieving this sustainable development. Business is the driver for sustainability. The best means to achieve sustainable development are increased information, changing values, new technology, and innovations. All these things are necessary for the achievement of sustainable development. Markets will use sustainable process to produce goods and services by employing changes in taxation and subsidies by being well informed. The reduced role of government will lead to the emergence of green capitalists who will indulge in corporate citizenship and ethical business to achieve sustainable development. Like in capitalist economies, government interference is near about nil. In capitalist economies, all the activities are run by the forces of price mechanism or the forces of demand and supply. All activities and all the decisions related to production and consumption are freely taken by producers and consumers. Their government interference is very less. That's why these economies who are following this capitalism system, they are doing more progress and they are well developed economies. So the reduction of role of the government will lead to the emergence of green capitalists who will indulge in corporate citizenship and ethical business to achieve sustainable development. When we are doing business, then we should follow some ethical issues and some ethical values, which tells us that production should rise but without harming the environment. If we are following this ethical value, then sustainable development target definitely we can achieve. Increased in good governance on the one hand and reduction in corruption on the other will also help in reaching closer to sustainability. This is very important thing that good governance should also increase in the economy and reduction in corruption. It also help in reaching closer to sustainability. So these are the fundamentals of this approach. And all these fundamentals are very necessary for the achievement of this goal of sustainable development. Next is community capacity building approach. This is the second approach of sustainable development. The community capacity building or the CCB approach proposes skill development and increase in knowledge base in the population living below poverty line. Community means whole community of the country. Government should take initiative for skill development of the country people and increase in the knowledge base education which will help in reduction of poverty because so many people are living below poverty line and decrease poverty decrease the environmental protection. If person are poor, they will not be educated. They don't have financial resources for getting education and for getting good medical facilities. In this case, they don't know about how environment should be protected and how environment can be safe or conservative. So, community capacity building approach tells us that skill development and increase in knowledge should increase for the those population who are living below poverty line. They need to be enabled with skill development and knowledge to become gainful or gainfully involved in a community so that they can contribute to the society. Sustainable development caters to the majority of rural population and the ABCD model of the Ford Foundation aims at A means acquire, develop, improve, or transfer across the generation or the building of assets. This Ford Foundation aims at acquire, develop, improve, or transfer resources across generation, the building of assets. Given below are three main areas in this community capacity building approach, where the ABCD model or Ford Foundation aims can be applied. First is resources. We know that there are three types of resources which exist in whole world. One is natural resources in which forest, wildlife, minerals and fossil fuel etc. are included. And the livestock can provide sustainable livelihoods. They have cultural and environmental importance in cleansing, recycling, and renewing air and water. Second is social bonds. These social bonds and community relationship encourage investment of the community in providing support of the poor. Social bonds and community relationship encourages investment in the community in providing support to the poor. And third is human asset. Human assets refers to the skills in the individuals which can get them employment and wages in the rural areas. Resources should be protected, resources should be ideally used, resources should be recycling or renewable so that each and every person requirement can be fulfilled and social there should be a social bond in between of rich and poor person and whole community so that relationship will good and they will encourage investment in the communities social securities and their betterment of the country people life. And human asset is the very important asset in whole world. Human asset refers to the skills of the individuals which can get them employment opportunities and wages in the rural areas. Next is next approach is industrial sector approach. Industrial sector approach. This is also very important approach for the achievement of sustainable development. This approach tells us that we know that without industrial development, we can't achieve higher economic growth and economic development because there are three sectors always exist in each and every economy for running all the activities or all the economic activities smoothly. These three sectors are one is primary sector, second is secondary sector, which is known as manufacturing sector or industrial sector, and third sector is tertiary sector or service sector. Primary sector includes all the agricultural and its allied activities like growing crops, fishing, mining, quarrying, etc. All these activities are included in primary sector. In secondary sector or manufacturing sector, which is known as industrial sector, in this sector, all these industries like small scale industry, cottage industry, large scale industry, medium sized industries are included, which converted raw material into finished goods. Industrial sector play very important role for the fulfillment of whole communities requirement. So the industrial sector is very important sector for whole the economy. And third sector is tertiary sector, which is known as service sector. In this sector, all those services like transportation, communication, banking, insurance, shipping corporation, all these services are included in service sector. Generally, all these three sectors like primary, secondary and tertiary all are interrelated with each other and all give great contribution in the achievement of higher growth rate of the country. But industrial sector approach tells us that commonly referred to that as industry approach implies on industries or businesses has an important role in addressing the implementation and achievement of sustainable development goals. Industrial sector approach falls under the integrated system approach in a way because the three components of sustainable development like environmental component, social component and third is third component is environmental, human and natural component have to be achieved simultaneously. Even if one component is neglected, it will have an adverse impact on the other, thereby negating the positive impact. The private sector has been highlighted as a partner with the potential to contribute in multiple ways to development objectives, which are what are the development objectives? These development objectives are simultaneous economic growth, simulating economic growth and job creation, providing investment and finance, and sharing the resources and knowledge needed to shape innovative solutions to global challenges. This industrial sector approach basically deals with industrial sector and businesses sector, and it is also related with integrated system approach in which three components of sustainable development have to be achieved simultaneously. human component, natural component, and social component. Natural is environmental component or economic component. Economic component, social component, and natural or environmental component, and all these components should be achieved simultaneously, because if one component is neglected, then it will adversely impact on the others, and sustainable development will not be achieved. So, if we want to achieve this sustainable development, then public and private sector both should cooperate with each other for the achievement of this goal. And there are so many other goals also, like providing finance and investment, and increasing the growth of the country, and job creation should also be uh, present, and job creation is very necessary for the reduction in poverty, because if job is created, then unemployment problem will be solved, and people will not be remain below poverty line. Their standard of living will be higher, they will live better and qualitative life. So this industrial sector approach mainly focuses on sustainable development components, and these three components play very important role in the achievement of sustainable development, and sharing the resources and knowledge needed to shape innovative solutions to global challenges. Next is some industrial sector that can be related to the sustainable development goals are: what are the important what are the important sectors on which industrial sector is related, and how industrial sector can give contribution in the achievement of sustainable development goals. First is focus on retail industry. With sustainable development goals of 12, because sustainable development goals are 17, and this 12 number goal is focus on retail industry, sustainable consumption and production by sourcing sustainable product from the manufacturers and supplying them to the consumers through their company. For example, Fab India sources its material directly from the handloom workers and sells it through its chain of stores. So, in this way, we can achieve this goal like sustainable consumption and sustainable production. Next is development of banking industry. Banking industry can provide for financial products which can cover many goals that need to be addressed. You know that finance is the main key of economic growth, and it is the main key of achievement of the successful all the economic activities. Without finance, without banking industry, no one sector can survive. No one sector can run smoothly. So banking industry should be developed because it will provide financial facilities to all businesses and all manufacturing sectors who are producing goods and services for consumers or whole community. Third is use of energy efficient. It means energy efficient resources should be used like air conditioner, smart bulbs, renewable energy sources like solar panels. This included in Sustainable Development Goal of 7. And fourth is emphasize on education industry. In this, schools, colleges, universities are included. If we increase the numbering of schools, colleges, universities for increasing the education level universally, this is also included in Sustainable Development Goal and in number 4. The above mentioned examples depicts how sustainable development goals can be achieved through systematic interlinkages. These are the sub-industrial sector which can be related to the sustainable development goals, like retail industry, focus on retail industry. uh, it will help us in achievement of sustainable development goals of number 12, and development of banking industry will help us in the achievement of sustainable development goal. Use of energy efficient will also help in the achievement of sustainable development goal of number 7, and emphasize on education industry will also help in the achievement of sustainable development number goal of number 4. Next is the principles for environmental management. What are the basic principles for environmental management? How environment can be saved? How environment can be protected? The principles for environmental management have been formulated by the International Chamber of Commerce, Bullard 1992, to be used as a basis for pursuing improvements and supporting the cause of sustainable development. And these principles are number 1, corporate priority. The corporate sector must ensure that policies, programs, and practices for their operations must be aligned with environmental management. First of all, it is the responsibility of each and every corporate sector who are doing their business at global level. They should give contribution for the safety of the environment. They should use those policies, programs, and practices for their operation which manage the environmental level without degrading the environmental securities. They should use that type of policies or technologies or programs in which environmental management give more emphasis on this, on the achievement of this sustainable development. Second is integrated management. These policies, programs, practices must be in must be an integral part of management function. So integrated management should also included in principles for environmental management. Third is process of improvement. The businesses must continuously make efforts to improve their processes across the globe concerning environmental performance by using the following. One is technological development. It means process of improvement. Always we should do more and more efforts for the process of this improvement. And how we can achieve this improvement? The process of improvement is based on technological advancement, technological development, scientific understandings, research and developments, consumers' need, and community expectations. So, process of improvement, businesses must focuses on continuously. They should make efforts for the achievement of improvement across the globe concerning environmental performance by using the following. One is technological development, second is scientific understanding, consumers' needs, and community expectations. All these things are included in process of improvement. If all these things will be improved, then sustainable development target will be achieved. Fourth is employee education. Employees should be or must be educated, well trained, skilled, and knowledgeable, and kept motivated so that they are able to operate in an res- environmentally responsible manner. If all employees will be educated, motivated, skilled, trained, then they will be able to operate in an environmentally responsible manner. Next is prior assessment. The manufacturing and consumption of products and services must be assessed prior to their final supply to the end user so that environmental and sustainability concerns are addressed. So this is the fifth point of this fundamental principles of environmental management is prior assessment. So manufacturing sector should produce goods and services in such a manner so that environmental and sustainability concerns are addressed and without harming environmental and sustainability of the production level, production should reach finally to the end user. So sustainability in production and sustainability in consumption is the main thing which is necessary for the achievement of sustainable development goal. Next is customer advice. The customers must be advised on the safe use, transportation, storage, and disposal of products. Next is facilities and operations. There must be efficient use of energy and materials, sustainable use of renewable and non renewable resources, and reduction of adverse environmental impacts. Effective waste management also must be done. So, these are main fundamentals of or principles of environmental management. There are some also other principles included in this approach. One is precautionary approach. Precautionary approach tells us about care must be taken to avoid irreversible environmental damages which can't be reversed, which can't be taken back. So, precaution or care must be taken to avoid irreversible environmental damage by the companies in the manufacturing, marketing, and the use of products or the conduct of activities as per the latest technology and scientific temper. Next principle is research. The companies must carry out research on the effects of industrial operations involving the raw material, products, emissions, and wastages on the environment. If any adverse effect is found, it must be corrected and the approach must be readjusted. So, this is the very important thing or most important principle that is research, which give more contribution in the protection of environment. Next is transfer of technology. The companies who have the environment friendly or eco-friendly technology must transfer this type of technology to other nations or to those who don't have access to it. This is called transfer of technology. If any nation is using eco-friendly technology for the production of goods and services, they should transfer their eco-friendly technology. They should give knowledge to those nations also who don't have access to it. In this way, if transfer of technology is possible and transfer of technology will be done by the nation or the developed countries, then definitely environmental pollution will be reduced and environment will be more safe and protected and sustainable development target will be achieved. So these are the fundamental principles of environmental management. These principles are 10. And if we want to achieve sustainable development, then we should follow these principles. Next is integrated system approach. This is the fourth approach of this sustainable development. The integrated means a mixture of all these approaches. Integrated system approach refers to the designing and adopting of the sustainable development strategies and plans which integrate environmental, social, and economic dimensions and recognize their linkages. This approach includes all the components of sustainable development like environmental component, social component, economic component or dimensions of the sustainable development and recognize their linkages, how they are interrelated with each other, how they are interlinked with each other. If any one of the dimension or one of the component uh, will leave from the system, then others will not work properly. So, United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs stated in its published reports that there was a lack of integration, inclusion, and coherence because nations mainly focused on economic growth and poverty reduction. They are not focusing on environmental and social development of the country. So, if these three things are not integrated with each other, then sustainable development can't be achieved. So, these three components, in which environmental, social, and economic dimensions all are interrelated with each other. So United Nations Department published report that if there was a lack of integration in between of these three components, then definitely we will not be able to achieve this sustainable development. So, because all of the nation or most of the nations mainly focusing on economic growth and poverty reduction, but not environmental security or safety. That's why sustainable development target still uh, not achieved. Next is sustainable development approach. This is the green approach of the sustainable development. In green approach tells us that we should protect our environment, appraisal of the environment, the assessment of environmental condition is prerequisite for initiation of any sustainable development project. This symbiotic relationship between local ecology, social structure, and economic conditions of the area concerned should be taken into account. Biophysical condition of any area is intricately related with the economic order of the region, which in turn influence societal development. It means uh, this approach tells us about appraisal of the environment that we should focus on environment for the achievement of the sustainable development. Not only economic prosperity is necessary for growth and development, not only socially development is necessary for the growth of the country, environmental protection is also very important thing which play important role in the achievement of economic growth and as well as sustainable development also. Next is the estimation of the environmental impact. We should estimate the environmental impact also. Environment and its positive use is a key factor for sustainable development. Negative impact on environment through unplanned development may harm the sustainability as a whole. The development which create complete social and environmental harmony is only classed as sustainable. To achieve this goal, identification of the major positive aspects and its optimum utilization and monitoring is necessary. Different ecological inputs, along with the climate, soil, vegetation, and drainage resources, should be properly accessed and monitored, and how development process affects these natural resources or natural system should be critically examined. So, estimation of environmental impact is the study of interrelationship with natural system and development process. Third is natural resource accounting. The famous Brundtland Commission in 1987, set up by World Commission on Environment and Development, in its report Our Common Future, suggested thus figuring profit from logging rarely takes full account on the losses in future revenue incurred through degradation of the forest. Similar incomplete accounting occurs in the exploitation of other resources, especially in the case of resources that are not capitalized in enterprises or national accounts: air, water, and soil. In all countries, either it may be rich or poor, economic development must taken must take full account in its measurement of growth of the improvement or deterioration in the stock of natural resources. Next is fourth is government policies and economic outlook. The widening gap between rich and poor countries, inequality among the individuals, massive trade, capital flow, lack of uniformity in government policies hamper sustainability in development. The dearth of integrated, coherent development policies, lack of price incentives, awareness, and absence of information campaign may hamper sustainable development seen in the most underdeveloped nations. Unsustainable use of natural resources should be stopped by imposing more taxes or reducing or abolishing subsidies. So government policy play a very important role in a decisive role in the process of sustainable development. These are the four approaches or general approach for the safety of environmental degradation from degradation. So these approaches should also be followed. Next is community economic development. Community economic development is also very necessary. Whole community should be developed economically. Community development corporations, housing development corporations, cooperatives, local enterprises, agencies, public private partnership, employee worker ownership, targeting and marketing neighborhood, small scale businesses area, all these are included in community economic development. Next is sustainable development goals. Generally, sustainable development has three components. One is society or social component, second is economic component, third is environment component, and there are 17 millennium development goals of sustainable development. Society component, under this society, these targets should be set by the United Nations, like for the improvement of the society, poverty should be reduced, hunger should be reduced, health and well-being should be focused more, educational facilities should be provided more, gender equality should exist, and water and sanitation facility should be provided to everyone. And for the economy, economic dimension or economic component, these goals are set by UN: energy system, work and economic growth, industry and infrastructure, inequalities should be reduced, sustainable cities should be formed, consumption and production should follow sustainability, and for environment, climate change, water ecosystem, land ecosystem should be followed, and institutional setting and public-private partnership also included for this achievement of sustainable development. So these are the sustainable development goals like clean water and sanitation, which we can achieve by 2030. Next is conclusion. Sustainable development goals have been extensively formulated covering all aspects that concerns the environment, social and economic needs of the present generation without harming the needs of the future generation. So, Sustainable Development Goals are set by UN and its target time period is given by UN that 2030 Agenda of Sustainable Development can be achieved through multiple approaches. However, the best approach is integrated approach which incorporates the three components like social, economic and environmental, and all the strategies should be taken for the achievement of sustainable development. Thank you.